All right, this is Mr. Gillum. Today we're going to learn about multiplying percents. And what we're going to do actually is have multiple markdowns or markups in the same problem. So like you might get a discount, but you might still have to pay tax on it. And so what we're going to learn today is how to do that. So let's take a look. For multiple percents, each markup or markdown needs to happen in order. Do not combine the percents. Okay, so when it says don't combine percents, if you see 2% in a problem, do not add those together. Do not put them together. And I'm going to show you why here in this first example. Okay, so let's take a look here at this first one. And it says Marlene's bill came to $45, but she has a 15% off coupon. And then she has to pay the sales tax of 6.5%. See that then? That means they have to be two separate things. All right. The first thing we see is 15% off. So I see I have a markdown. So I'm going to start with my percent, 15%. I need to change that to a decimal. So I'm going to take 15.0%, or you could even say, as I move it that way, 0.15 would be the decimal, or 0.150, but we don't need that zero on there, just 0.15. I'm going to take 0.15 times what I'm starting with, 45. That's going to tell me the 15% discount amount. 0.15 times 45. We've been practicing this. That tells me $6.75 is how much I'm getting off the original price. So the next thing I need to do is I need to take, okay, I'm starting with $45, but they're giving me a $6.75 discount. So 45 minus $6.75. All right, 45 minus $6.75. $38.25. Now I'm not done yet though. My new total is $38.25. Okay, so I have done all this up here. She has a 15% off coupon. That tells me that I'm going to actually pay $38.25. However, that doesn't exclude me from sales tax. I still have to pay my sales tax. So let's change the 6.5%, or we'll just move that into a decimal. 0.065. And that zero right there, that zero is important. We're going to take my 0.065 times my new amount that I have to pay. So 0.065 times 38.25. This is going to represent what 6% of 38.25 is. And when I take 38.25 times 0.065, I get 2.48625. That's what 6.5% of 38 is. Now, because it's a tax, that's going to be more that I have to pay. So originally I got a discount of $6.75 and it only made my total $38.25. But I also have to pay 6.5% of that on top of this guy. So I'm going to take my $38.25. I'm going to add my 2.48625, and that's going to give me my total. Now I'm going to round it to the nearest hundredth, because I know that when we talk about currency, we only go to cents. So my total is actually going to be 40.74. There we go. Now let's just pretend we combine these. What if we just change it from, let's just say 15 plus the 6.5 would make 21.5% times 45, or 0.215 times 45. Let's see what would happen then. 0.215 times 45. Ooh, that would give me 9.675. And I don't think there's going to be any way to change a 45, adding or subtracting 9.675 to get to our actual answer of 40.74. If I add them in the 50s, if I subtract them in the 30s. So unfortunately, you cannot just do it in one step where you do add the percents together. That's not how, you can't go that way. You have to do each markup and markdown in order as they occur. So let's take a look at the second one here. It says my bill at Office Max was $156.50, but I get a 10% off for being a teacher. So that's good news. I get 10% off. So let's start right there before we read any other stuff in the problem. $156.50, but I get 10% off. So 10% or 10.0%. I'm going to move the decimal place 2 spots. 0.100 or better yet, just 0.1 is fine. 10% of multiply 156.50 or 156.5 equals $15.65. All right, so that's my percent off, my 10% off. So because it says off, that's how much I'm going to take away from my original total. So right now I have 156.50. I'm going to subtract 15.65. Let's just get that in there first. 156.5 minus 15.65, 140.85. That's my new total so far. Okay, with my 10% off. I took this 10% off of my original total. But the checkout guy gave me an additional 15% off for being awesome. Well, that was nice of him. So now I take this new total here and I take 15% of that off on top. So I'm going to take my 15%, or actually that's really 15.0% if you're looking for that decimal. And I'm going to move it over twice. And instead of 0.150, I can just say that's really 0.15. Zeros after the decimal are insignificant, usually. I'm going to take that times my new 140.85. And you know what 15% of it is. So when I take that times 0.15, I get 21.1275. Now this is the additional amount, and once again, it's the amount off of my new total. So I'm going to take my 140.85 and I'm going to go continue to take more money off. $119.72 is going to be my new total. So after both discounts, this is going to be my total. Let's just pretend I added my 10% off with my 15% off and got 25% off. Well, if I change that to 0.25 and multiply by my 156.50, let's see if we get the same answer. 0.25 times 156.5. I get 39.125. Let's do 156.5 minus 39.125. I get 117.375. Is that the same as this? No, it's not. So I can't add the percents together and do it just once. I have to do each part separate. This example says your subtotal came to $35.50, but you have to add 6% sales tax, and then on top of that, you have to add your tip on there. So what's the final bill? So this time it looks like we're going to have two markups. Tax is more money that you have to pay. So let's start with that. Change my 6% to 0.06 and multiply it by 35.50. So 6% of 35.50 is 2.13. All right, now that's the tax. I have to pay another $2.13 of tax. So I had my $35.50, but now it's not $35.50 anymore. That's another $2.13 more than that. So $37.63. All right, so now this is my new total so far. I'm on the right track. So we just added our 6% sales tax. Now I have to add on another 15% of this guy for the tip. So I'm going to take my 15%, I'm going to change them to a decimal, 0.15, times now my total, 37.63. And when I take 37.63 times 15%, or 0.15, I get 5.6445. And because this is an adding on, I'm adding on another 15%, I have to add this onto this guy. So to find my answer, 37.63, which is the part with the tax, and on top of that, I got to add my tip on there, for the good service. So I will have as my final total $43.27. So even though I only bought $35.50 worth of food, I had to pay a whole almost $8 more for my total meal between tax and tip. So remember that when you're going out to eat. It costs more than you think it does. Let's look at this last one here. It says a pair of shoes is ticketed $49.99 but marked 15% off. Well, this is going to be a big one. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this one a little quicker because I don't want this video to take too much longer. We need 15% off, 0.15 times $49.99. That's how much we're taking off. So we're going to have our first marked down 7.4985. So $49.99. So what we started with, and we're subtracting 7.4985. And that tells me my new total is 42.4915. So I have gotten my 15% off, so that's good. It says you have a coupon for an additional 10% off. All right, so now I have to take another 10% off of that. So I'm going to change my 10% into 0.10 times my new total. And what I get is $4.24915. And so now I'm taking this off because this is off the sale price. So now I have my 42.4915 right here. And I'm taking off the 4.24915. Oh man, there's a lot of buttons to push. 0.4915 minus 4.24915. So now I'm looking at a total of $38.24.235. Okay. So now we got those two discounts, but of course you have to pay the sales tax. Why wouldn't you pay the sales tax? So this is going to be a mark up. So once I have this guy, I need to multiply him by 6.75% or 0.675. 0.675. If I move that decimal twice, it has to have a 0 in front of it. 0.0675. So I'm going to take that guy times 0.0675, and it tells me, oh, I got to pay another 2.58. I'm going to go ahead and round to that one. And that's going to be on top of my bill. So really I have my $38.24 after all my discounts, but I have to pay my tax of $258 on top of that. So when it's all said and done, my total bill will be $40.82. All right, so the big idea here is I want you to remember you can't combine the percents together. You can't add the 15, the 10, and the 675. It's not going to be the same answer. It's going to be a different thing. So you have to do each one separate. So it's just a combination of markups and markdowns, which we've been practicing for a while now. So hopefully you can find multiple percents or markups or markdowns.